Welcome to Stories We Love. Stories We Love is where I get to interview really fascinating people that are doing good in the world. Just to remind everybody that there is so much good in the world. There's so much good in the world, and it also can inspire you to maybe think of ways that you could bring more goodness to the world that you live in. And I'm very excited today to connect with someone I don't know too well, but he was referred to me by another person that I interviewed named Barnaby Springs. And this is Stephen Ritz. And Stephen Ritz runs the Green Bronx Machine in the Bronx. Stephen, welcome to the show. Can you tell me, like, what exactly do you mean by the Green Bronx Machine?
Well, hello, Karen. It's just an honor to be here. And, stories we love are rooted in people we love. So let me just acknowledge Barnaby Spring, because he is a character that most all of us in New York City love, an epic character. And he's just part of my story. But literally, Green Bronx Machine is a locally grown organization. We are about as organic and as authentic as you can get. And right here in the middle of the South Bronx, 4 stories up, in the middle of public housing, in the poorest congressional district in America, we grow vegetables of all crazy things. Yes, I'm a badass insurgent. I'm growing vegetables in school all year long, 365 days a year, with 90% less water, 90% less space. But what we really do is we grow vegetables, our vegetables grow students, our students grow schools, and our schools grow happy, healthy, resilient communities. And we are a top 10 health and wellness program in the nation, and 165,000 pounds of vegetables grown right here in this classroom with adorable little children, some of whom may be in and out of here because we're after school. My favorite crop is organically grown citizens, graduates, members of the middle class, kids who are going to college, in high-performing public schools and communities that are often malaligned, malnourished, and malneglected.
Yep. Fantastic. That feels so beautiful. I love it. What inspired you to get into doing this? Yeah.
Well, listen, I'm a lifelong educator. I'm a little older than I look. And, I fight. I fight for children who are born in places that most people would not want to be caught dead in. I fight for children who don't often get dinner and rarely get dessert. I fight for children who don't have a room to call their own, who don't see a dentist. I fight for children whose monsters are real. And most importantly, here in the poorest congressional district in America, I fight for equity. I fight for opportunity. I fight for food justice. And I fight for a better and brighter tomorrow. And that all starts with kids. And most importantly, it all starts with food, because children will never be well-read if they are not well-fed. And in a world of screens and applications and data-driven learning, the most important school supply in the world is food. So let me be clear about that. And food justice is racial justice. We are living in a nation that is overfed and undernourished. We are living in a nation where communities are not only under-resourced, but over-extracted. And where does that tend to happen most? In communities like mine. It's no secret that, the life expectancy in my community is 15 years less than one on the Upper East Side for the same race of children, simply because of what they're eating and due to environmental racism. So I fight the fight. I'm an equity warrior, but I love growing happy, healthy children, and I love growing high-performing schools. Everyone can get behind that.
Yeah, that feels really beautiful. I love it.
And thank you. That's the power of a plant. It's the book I wrote.
Yes, you wrote. Is that the first or only book you've written?
No, I've written 2. I wrote The Power of Plant. I've got a copy of it here. Please get a copy. You can buy it off the website. If you don't like it, I'll buy it back for twice the price. It'll come personally autographed. And then I wrote a children's book called Make It Happen, to inspire healthy living and inspire healthy learning for young people. And we've taken that and turned it into a TV show called Let's Learn with Mr Ritz, which is available on YouTube and PBS, depending on where you live.
I love it. And your hat, what is that? Swiss cheese?
A cheese hat. I am the big cheese. Recently I celebrated 1 million pictures with children in the cheese hat. But, my story is one that is not uncommon. I'm an ex-athlete. I'm still waiting for the Knicks to call me back. If anybody out there has a connection, or to the Lakers, I'm available. But,
Awesome.
That didn't quite work out. That was not in my story. And along the way, I got a little hungry, to the tune of over 300 pounds. And the kids were calling me the big cheese. I started farming, got a farm hat, was walking around school as the dean of students in a farm hat so people could see me coming. It was really a lot of fun, although I hated the farm hat. It was itchy, it smelled, it was awful. And I got to go visit one of, my favorite heroes, Will Allen, out in Wisconsin, the author, the farmer, the basketball player. And, and I got off the plane in Kenosha, Wisconsin. There was a store filled with these hats for the Green Bay Packer, the state of cheese, Wisconsin. So, I came back wearing a cheese hat. I've worn this hat since 2014. I've worn it to the White House. I've worn it to TED Talks. I've worn it on the stage of Wobie. I've worn it with Anthony Bourdain, may he rest in peace. I've worn this thing in places that and children love it. And during the pandemic, I was able to leverage the use of this hat to get thousands of children and parents to get vaccinated. So this hat stands for a whole lot. It has nothing to do with the dairy industry, although kids still call me the big cheese. But I like to say it takes a tough man to wear a tender foam cheese hat in the middle of the South Bronx. But turn the frown upside down day in and day out. The kids love it. They call me Mr. Cheese. And, in a very crowded community, there's something about a 6'3" guy walking through the block with a big yellow cheese hat and a bow tie in the middle of the South Bronx. You see me coming.
I love it. I love it. And what is the age? It looks like your classroom has a lot of bright colors. What age, more or less, do you teach?
So I like to say we go from pre-K all the way to gray and bald. Right here, we're in the National Health, Wellness, and Learning Center, which is in an elementary school. But we are in 675 schools across the United States. We do college training. We have partnered out of this classroom to 2,200 living wage jobs. And in a community that has limited means and limited employment, that speaks volumes. We have programs in the UAE, in Qatar, in South America, you name it. We've got programs going on, and we're just getting started.
I love it. And so when you, so you're teaching from the little ones to when you're old and gray, how would you say, I know you say they're getting healthy food, so the kids get to grow the food, and then
365 days a year we grow food in class, and the art and science of growing vegetables indoors is aligned to every single thing we do academically. So I'm not the garden guy, I'm not the salad guy. Honestly, I don't even know the formula for photosynthesis. Don't tell anybody. But what we do is whole, authentic, project-based learning, where the kids run the classroom, they run the farm, the food goes into the cafeteria, it's used daily. We have add-value products. It is the reading, the writing, the math, the science, everything around maintaining a farm. So, kids think they're coming to school to learn, and it's kind of like the spinach baked into the ice cream, if you will. They're learning everything they need to do, and they love growing food in a community that is one of the darkest and most gray visually in all of New York City. So, in the middle of public housing, we are bright shining lights in a greenhouse 4 stories up, surrounded by 45,000 people.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And so these kids are getting this, they're learning how to do the food. They're learning science through planting. They're learning...
Right. They're learning entrepreneurship. They're learning add value. They're learning how to read, write, do inventory, do marketing, entrepreneurial skills, you name it. In the middle of the South Bronx, I've got a bunch of vegans growing on here. It's crazy, in a community that has limited means and limited access to healthy, fresh food, we are growing and selling and eating ours daily.
I love it.
Yeah. And, here's the deal, not to cut you off, but in all seriousness, if children grow kale at an early age, they eat kale. If children have iced tea without 16 servings of sugar, they drink mint flavored tea and they like it. They love it. So, my work started with overage undercredited children, young people who are going in and out of jail, unemployed, and second and third opportunity adults. And I realized as I got older that it's just easier to raise healthy children than fix broken men. And if you start young children on a trajectory of health, wellness, mindfulness, environmental stewardship, a lot of the problems that they face later on are diminished. And, again, eating is everything. We have children and parents who think that, due to marketing, and make no doubt about it, communities like mine are marketed to in very insidious ways that by giving their children a bag of chips and 3 energy drinks in the morning, they think they're doing well by their kids. Nothing could be further from the truth. You know, we've got the clown, the king, and the colonel on every corner. Try getting some lettuce.
Right. Right. I agree. And there's such a food desert in so many places in the US and
Well,
in other countries.
it's funny because I don't like that term food desert. I kind of think it's a media term, you know, if we're going to be honest. What I think there are food swamps, you know, because a desert is a viable ecosystem. You go to the desert and things thrive in the desert. What's in the desert is supposed to be in the desert. What's in this community should not be eaten at all. I call it a mess. Manufactured edible synthetic substances, crap, calorie rich and processed food. We've got 35 flavors of soda, 86 kinds of variety of chips. You know, try finding a piece of whole grain bread. So it's not a desert, it's a swamp. It's a swamp of crap that is both environmentally, ecologically, and physiologically reprehensible for the communities that have to endure it.
100%. I agree.
Thank you.
Yes, yes, I am a big proponent for eating food that is healthy. And I know that taste buds change. When you eat healthy food, your taste buds change and you lose, often, it might not happen right away, but you can actually lose the desire for food that is processed or too salty or too much sugar or too much carbohydrate or whatever that stuff is. So
listen, that's how I ate and drank myself obese without knowing it. I mean, you know, obviously I knew it. I had a 54-inch waist. I didn't get in front of the window and see in front of the mirror and see Fabio. I'll leave it at that. I saw me, and me was not so happy. Me was on medication. Me had a cirrhotic liver. Me was diabetic. Me was on medication. Me had a heart attack in front of my daughter due to contraindicative medications. So you get it. But, you know, now I loathe the taste of ultra sweet food. I loathe the taste of processed food. I'm proud to say my divorce with Miss Debbie is final.
Miss Debbie.
Yeah, Miss Debbie, the little snack cakes, you know, they're kind of like the ghetto wonder cakes, you know.
Okay. Because I don't
call them Miss Debbie and her mom, Mrs. Freshly, you know, which is anything but, you know.
Right.
Those are the kinds of things that go out in these communities in 25 and 50-cent increments with infinite shelf life.
Yeah. Yeah. I have a friend who did a thing where she had saved Twinkies, bread, a bunch of stuff, a bunch of processed food, and she'd saved it for 20 years. It still looked.
Yeah, I got a colleague downstairs who has a Twinkie on his desk from 2007. It looks great.
Yeah. And you kind of got to wonder what the heck are they putting in that stuff?
Exactly.
That, you know, that can last that long, because food is meant to be not lasting that long. You know.
You know, in this community, what we've learned. And this is the remarkable, this I take great pride in, is that food is medicine. Let medicine be thy food and food be thy medicine. We have children here who are growing copious amounts of food for senior citizens who are both food insecure and recovering from cancer. And each and every week, these children deliver food door to door to these seniors and are nourishing them back to health. And the wild thing is that whether children want to eat it or sell it or grow it, they're seeing the impact of good food on those who are the stewards of our community. And the beautiful thing is now we have these seniors who are recovered and recovering, coming to school as reading partners, as mentors, as playground supervisors, as crossing guards. So, you know, everything we do is a very virtuous cycle. It's a story we like to tell.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. It's so beautiful because, you know, kids are learning compassion. Kids are learning about, you know, good food for themselves and for their community. They're learning about how you can heal lots and lots of different things, it sounds like. And then
the magic word in my classroom, compassion is the new curriculum, and empathy is our North Star.
Yes. Because when you have compassion, you know, you don't get mad at people. You see what's going on, but you're not going to try to kill them or hurt them, because you feel compassion, you know.
Well, interestingly enough, there's a new Wendys that opened up in our community, and it's like the Taj Mahal of Wendys. It's this big glowing red building with Wendy herself in 3D, just beckoning you in the middle of the night. And our children grow tomatoes up here in this classroom. And, you know, part of growing tomatoes in classrooms, it's not easy work. You've got to pollinate them. You've got to nurture them. So the children went online and learned that Wendys was not paying farmers 1 penny more per pound in Florida for the produce they were picking. And the children were outraged. They were like, Mr. Ritz, that's not fair. Now, as parents, we often don't like to hear our children say that's not fair. But as an educator, I love hearing that's not fair. And when the children say that's not fair, I'm like, what are you going to do about it? Well, the children organized a great boycott of Wendy's. They haven't been into Wendy's. They're eating fresh produce. They're eating salads. They're writing letters. They're doing all the things because they realize that that most of the people who are denied that 1 penny per pound raise tend to look like them. But more importantly, every time I keep a burger out of their belly or someone else's, I'm saving 400 gallons of water. I'm doing the earth, the planet, and people a huge favor. So it's really about compassion.
Beautiful. And it sounds like, it sounds like you're shifting the community as well. I can imagine. Sorry, this is making me cry with appreciation. I can imagine that if these kids are coming home and they're thinking better because you have better food in their belly, because the microbiome is so important for cognition, and it seems strange, but digestion, what you're eating, what's in your digestion is such a big part of how you think. And so I can imagine these kids coming home, they're having fun, it sounds like, because you seem like you're
I have a lot of fun up in here.
Yeah.
Have you seen any of our videos?
I've seen a lot of your videos, actually.
Okay.
And what I learned recently, and this was from Karen Purvis, Dr. Karen Purvis, and she said, when you want to grow a new synapse, it takes 400 repetitions unless you're doing it with play. And when you're doing it with play, it takes 10 to 20 repetitions.
Of course.
And so that's so cool. But the other thing I like when you talk about stewards of the environment, what's so important, because when kids have a meaningful experience of the environment in some way, it makes them want to care for the environment forever. And that's something that a lot of kids don't get, especially in certain lower economic communities.
Certain communities,
they're not even taken to the beach. They're not taken to the forest. They're not taken to
crystallize it for you. When you
Yes.
teach children about nature, you teach them to nurture. And
Yeah.
when we teach children to nurture, we as a society collectively embrace our better nature. I have 55 fish here in a fish tank named after Community School 55. Every fish has his own name, named after a student, and every day the children are here to feed those fish. It's one of the big responsibilities in this classroom. Now, between you and me and the viewers out there, some of those fish have died, but I've replaced them, and the kids don't know better. But that's the most important thing, is that they're showing up, and if you bring the body, the brain will follow. But most importantly, it's about belonging. It's about diversity. It is about equity and inclusion. And in this class and in a community that has not even been invited to the table, we're building our own.
I love it. And you're right. That thing about it belonging, so many people from every walk of life have a hard time feeling like they belong. And when they do start to feel like they belong, there's a whole systemic relaxation that happens and a capacity to be more present. So I love that. And I was just thinking, so when these kids are coming home to their families, and maybe they have other siblings or they have their parents there or other relatives, and they're bringing in this better cognition and this better attitude because they're having fun, I can imagine that their parents or whoever else is in their family is getting lifted up. And so it's communicating.
Absolutely. This is the hub of the community. Our students we just recently debuted a mini documentary filmed by Food Inspiration in Google, featuring the New York City mayor. And children call this the happiest place in the Bronx. They love being here. They can't wait to come through these doors. And let me tell you, I give a lot of homework. We do a lot of work here. It's not like it's a free ride. So it goes to show you that if you build it, children will come. And if you embrace them, no child rises to low expectations. So I'd rather fail here than succeed here. And that's really what this is all about.
Mm-hmm. And that experience, it sounds like it's got to be so gratifying for you when they want to come to school. I'm
on my second and third generation of kids. I have parents who have graduated but send their children back to me, which is one of the most humbling things in the world.
Yes. That's beautiful. I love that. And then I saw you did a video in the Museum of Natural History.
The new TV show, Let's Learn with Mr. Ritz. Yeah, that's all on green screen. It's a lot of fun. Children wrote it.
Really?
The children wrote it. I'm the idiot in front of the screen. Realize you're talking to a gentleman with an AOL account and a VCR at home that says 12 o'clock, 12 o'clock. But fewer children consume content all day. They're marketed to in wild ways. So we figured best to let them create content and produce content. So they are the voice, they are the scriptors, they are kind of the animators. We're doing a whole new series. We actually start filming tomorrow.
Wow. And what's the new series?
26 new episodes.
On?
Let's Learn with Mr. Ritz. We're going to talk about plants, animal, nature, giving, kindness, empathy, compassion. What makes a rainbow? Why is the sky blue? Why is the ocean blue? Why are plants green? In this class, I like to say, I wonder, I investigate, and I learn. And that's what children like to do. We want them to wonder, investigate, learn, and share.
And that's part of the thing that kids are so great at. They want to know everything. They want to, they're so curious. They're so interested in different things, and it's just so fun when you're with a kid, because little kids are really good teachers to me anyway. I've learned so much from kids about paying attention to the beauty of a spider web or of a fly, or like the colors on a fly, things you don't think to think of, but that are so important to them, and they're so excited. Look, that fly has green on it, and it's so exciting.
In this class, we have thousands of ladybugs walking around. And the reason we have thousands of ladybugs walking around is because we are a working farm, and the ladybugs eat aphids, and aphids are pests that come and eat our plants. Now, in the old days, I could tell children, please be quiet, Mr. Ritz has a headache, and pick which finger they're going to flip me. But when I have 1,500 ladybugs working hard for their produce, when I come to class and I say, children, please be quiet, you're going to stress out the ladybugs, you can hear a pin drop. So, it's kind of taking the control and giving it back to them, if you will. But, you talk about presence and presence in a community where children are marketed to, where their net worth is defined by what they own. The most important thing they can really do is be present instead of get presents. And, we have some of the best attendance in all of New York City. We have some of the happiest children in all of New York City. Children love to be here. We have moved targeted attendance from 40% to 93% daily. And when those children come to school, everybody benefits.
Yeah. And also, when they're in a community of their peers who are learning the same thing, and who have different perspectives on it, it opens up more of that compassion within them, I think. And then hearing your stories and then seeing, it just seems like there's so much good compassion for the ladybugs. You don't want to stress the ladybugs out. And that's so right. And I love this because, what we learn as kids are highly programmable, especially from in utero to about 6 or 7 years old. They still are pretty programmable going further, but a lot of kids are just programmed with stuff we don't want them to be programmed with. And when kids get stressed out, little kids get stressed out, all the blood flows away from the brain, from the digestive system, and into the arms and legs, because it's fight or flight. Your body's being prepared to so it sounds like you're shifting the entire physiology on an emotional level as well. And emotions are so key. Food.
I'll share a very funny story with you. So during the pandemic, I opened up the schoolyard here, and we did very socially distant exercise, and we got the kids outside and moving and out of the buildings because it was just a nightmare. And one summer we had kids started bringing more kids, and kids started bringing more kids. Now, it was hot one day, and one child who was new turned and said, "Oh, Mr. Ritz, can you get me a soda? It's so hot." And my students turned and said, "Don't ever ask Mr. Ritz for a soda. Asking Mr. Ritz for a soda is like asking your mama for a cigarette. It's not going to happen. Ask him for water. Ask him for fruit. Ask him for iced tea. But never, ever, 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 ever ask Mr. Ritz for a soda." And that's kind of what we do here.
I love it. I love it. And then,
believe it or not, we have the first generation of youth food ambassadors endorsed by New York City Mayor Eric Adams. And the coolest thing is these are young people who sit in the cafeteria and make that healthy choice the first choice. Listen, you and I could sit here and tell kids to eat healthy all day. And we're basically two older white people who are well-intentioned, but children can't always relate to. But when you put a child who looks like a child in front of a child and said, "Try this, it's good," they tend to try it. 2 weeks ago, we unveiled this new campaign called Hummus in the Hood. And we got all our students dressed up as carrots and peas, and they went out giving hummus all around the hood. So I'd like to thank Whole Foods and Whole Kids Foundation and Ithaca Hummus for sending us that hummus. But the amazing thing is that everybody loved hummus. So, there are ways of introducing healthy food to children and parents and families that make it fun, that make it edible, and make it the first option instead of the default option.
Right. And them having fun is also so good for health.
Right.
It's good for cognition. It's good for so many things. And I bet you that these kids, when they, as they grow up and even now, that they're going to have more positive synchronicities, more health, more fun, more better relationships. Just all of that happens when you're having fun. And then when you're teaching about compassion with the ladybugs and with the senior citizens and with the plants and with the fish, it's just a totally new way for them to understand how to have good relationships with grandma, with mom,
with everybody. It's so funny. As we're speaking, one of our students who started here in second grade just walked in. She was an English language learner. She's now a full-time employee. She helps manage the farm. So I'm just going to say hello to her. Jilly, I got to finish this interview. Good to see you, Jilly. But the first thing is we got to get going on those seedlings in the grow rack. Just water them down. We'll top off the tower garden, and then I'll be finished with this interview, and I'll get with you. Thank you.
Love it. And how old is she now?
Jilly, how old are you now? She's 16? Yeah, she's 16. And believe it or not, she's going to be going to Italy with us, where she's going to be going. We just opened up 800 schools in Italy. And this summer, we're going to have her do the training for schools in Italy. It'll be her first experience leaving the Bronx overseas since coming to this country. So she's going to be an ambassador of goodwill and of proper English.
Wow. I'm so impressed.
Yeah. There are a million of these stories. So go to our website and learn more, please.
Yeah, Green Bronx Machine.
Yes.
.com or .org.
.org.
greenbronxmachine.org. Well, this is awesome. I so appreciate what you're doing. I so appreciate your heart. I so appreciate, the how you said, you said your authenticity is your activism, and your activism is your authenticity. And that integrity is so valuable and so important. And it's such a good.
I like to say the degree to which we resist any injustice is the degree to which we are all free. And the opposite of courage is not cowardice. The opposite of courage is conformity, because even a dead fish can go with the flow. And we've had too many dead fish here in the South Bronx, and we are not dead fish. We are swimming, and we will continue to swim and spawn and make epic happen. And that's what this movement and this work is all about.
I love it so much. Thank you so much, Stephen Ritz. It's so good to just understand what you're doing. Congratulations, Jilly. I'm super proud of you.
And come visit, Karen. You got to come visit. You look a little misty-eyed. Come on up. We'll give you a big Bronx hug and a salad.
Yeah, no, you keep making me cry. So
go to the website and buy a book. The book supports the program, or you can buy a Green Bronx Machine t-shirt.
Yeah, and when you guys sell the veggies, do you sell them to do the kids get the money, or does the school?
Everything supports the program. We do a couple of things really well. Number one, anybody who needs food here gets it for free. We have a motto. We like to sell food to people who have lots of money. So we do corporate farmers markets. We teach kids how to market, how to be entrepreneurs, how to be ecopreneurs, and we use the money to support children and families in wild ways. During the pandemic, this classroom right here in the middle of the South Bronx helped distribute 165,000 pounds of food that we did door to door with children. So, we know that Superman isn't coming. I've lived in the South Bronx my whole life. I've never seen anyone ride up the block on a white horse to save us. So we are the ones we're waiting for. And in a world where there is no justice, there is just us. And we're going to make epic happen. So we support ourselves. We send kids. We do the things that we need to do to make it happen. I don't even take a salary. I'm a full-time volunteer. And this is largely a community-driven organization that, by the way, has won an Emmy Award, 2 Social Innovation Awards, 6 Anthem Awards, and is a top 10 health and wellness program in America. So in a community that has been maligned, misaligned, and just so misrepresented, I believe that the greatest natural resource in the world is the untapped potential, like Jilly sitting right here. And from the Bronx to the world, we're going to make epic happen. But thanks for your support and thanks for your time. And come visit.
I will. Thank you so much.
Barnaby got here by mistake, and he keeps wanting to come back. You know, it's quite a story that got Barnaby here. So I'm very grateful for that introduction.
Oh, that's so sweet. Yeah, Barnaby, I knew Barnaby back in the early 90s when I lived in New York.
Okay.
So it was so fun to interview him just to see how much he transformed since then. And I love that he connected me with you. Thank you so much, Stephen Ritz. Thank you, Green Bronx.
Thanks kindly. From the Bronx to the world.
Yeah.
Get with it.
Yeah. Yes, the power of a plant. And I want to say thank you to all the kids who are learning this and all the parents who are sending their kids back. And I want to say thank you to the Bronx community.
Thank you. We appreciate it. We appreciate you.
Thank you. Have a beautiful rest of your day.
No one can do everything, but everyone can do something. So get out there and do something today that you and your future self are proud of.
Indeed. I believe it.
Okay. Thank you.
So much, Stephen. Ciao. Thank you for joining Stories We Love. Have a beautiful day. And maybe you could grow some plants inside your school and learn some things, and maybe some fish, and maybe have the kids write a new story about going to the museum or some other place. Thank you.